16th century, weavers who were resting on the banks of WICCI river saw a reflection of stars on the river. The idea of making a saree design based on it excited them. They weaved and dyed the saree and gave it as a gift to Nayaka, king of Madurai. The Sungadi design was thus born.
என் பேர் நாகஜோதி மோதிலால். நாங்கள் 55 வருஷமாக இதே தொழிலை தான் பார்க்குறோம். 15 வயசுலேருந்தே இந்த வேலை நாங்கள் பார்த்துட்டே தான் இருக்கோம்.
Before setting the yarn on loom, the weavers perform street sizing of the warp to add strength to the yarn. The sizing is done by stretching the warp and applying natural adhesives, and then drying and combing the yarn to make it stiff. For the border zari, it is rolled into small cones, while for the weft, cone winding is followed by pearl winding.
ரெண்டு மூணு களி சுற்றினா கை அறுக்கும். நூல் சுற்றும் போதும் சரி, இந்த இதில் சுற்றும் போதும் கை அறுக்கும். 2 நாள் கழித்து அது சரியாகிடும். இப்போ அந்த முன்னாடிலாம் கையில் தான் சுற்றிட்டே இருந்தோம். இப்போ இந்த மிஷின் வந்தனால எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் இதாக இருக்குது, கஷ்டம் இல்லாமல் வேலை பார்க்க முடியுது. இந்த நூலை இப்போ நாங்கள் சுற்றுருவோம், அப்புறம் அது நெய்யும் போது சேலை ஆயிடும் இந்த நூலெல்லாம்.
The warp and zari are set on loom by joining each thread in order, ready for the weaving process to begin.
இந்த ஒயிட் சாரி தான் எங்களுக்கு, அதை நெஞ்சு அங்கே கொடுத்து அவங்க சுங்கடி சேலை செஞ்சுருவாங்க.
Bleaching is still carried on the banks of WICCI river, where Sungadi originally originated. After bleaching, stones are tied and then the saree is dyed, which results in Sungadi design.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start our next panel session on the topic Artisans at the Crossroads, Empowering Weavers and Dyers. This panel will be chaired by Mr. Ramesh Menon. We'll have a few presentations first, then we'll have the panel discussion on stage. So for this, I first invite Ms. Sonali Raman on stage, please, for her presentation.
everyone. I am just going to make a brief presentation about the topic on hand, more related to the work that I do with my brand. We can have the presentation, Kalpesh. So we all understand, and we've had so many discussions going on in the last couple of days at that, the stage that we're at, what the markets are like, and the weavers' struggle, and how the newer generations are not wanting to continue the crafts and the traditions. So we need to see how we can keep this going, and not just empower them, but just keep the work going and keep the weaves on and keep the craft traditions on. So basically, our weavers are retaining the culture and tradition of our country with their craft and skills. Spinning, dyeing, weaving, all of these are traditional skills that have not been realized formally. And these skills need to be upgraded from time to time. They need to be upskilled, and skill upgradation of the handloom weavers and dyers is one way that we can really keep this going and ensure that these beautiful craft traditions and culture of our country is not going to get lost. One important point is we do need to integrate technology to keep these skills relevant and to keep them updated. And I don't mean using technology in the craft process, but in other ways to help keep these crafts alive, like marketing, like simplifying other things after the product is made. That's where technology can really be used to a large extent. And basically build an ecosystem with not just training centers to train the new generations, but also, the main thing is develop relevant products that are relevant to today's modern consumer needs, and also find a way to, finance these weavers through these products, and therefore, keep them continuing to create and to make. We also have, of course, we're talking about dyers, not just weavers as well, and so dyeing is a craft tradition that we've had for several years in our country, and we've always traditionally used natural dyes, but that has changed along the way. So what we need to do is to perhaps, revisit that, go back to that, and encourage the younger dyers and, to go back to understanding those processes and learn, how to continue and keep that tradition alive, and not use the chemical dyes, basically. So I'm going to just share with you a couple of collections that I've worked on with weavers and with certain crafts, and the process that I went through, some of the challenges that I faced, and because as a designer, for me, this is one way that I can help to keep these crafts alive, is to work with them and to create products that are relevant and therefore keep these crafts going. So this was a collection that I was inspired by the striped borders of grain sacks in Europe and North America that were traditionally woven with crop that was grown by these farmers. These farmers grew hemp, flax, and they created yarn from it, and they made the grain sacks, and then they put their own pattern of a stripe on it to identify which farmer it was when they sent their crop to the granary to sell. And so therefore, that was their way of branding, and it became a family monogram of sorts. Now, during the World Wars, when fabric was not available for people to make clothing, they actually used these grain sacks to make apparel. So that was what my inspiration was for this collection. And I created my own border pattern, but of course, I made it a little bit more colorful. The grain sacks had very monochromatic border patterns. And I worked with a cluster of weavers in central India and Madhya Pradesh for this. But I wanted to work with the traditional fibers that were linen or hemp, and that was proving to be a little difficult because this cluster of weavers was not used to weaving with these fibers. They were used to working only with cotton. So it took a lot of experimentation. First of all, it took a lot of persuasion to persuade them to work with a fiber that they were not familiar with. And then a lot of design interventions, a lot of experimentations later, we were able to come up with a way to make the combination for the yarn. And so we decided to use a dyed cotton yarn in the warp and an undyed linen yarn in the weft. And that's the process that you see there. And so, the grain sack stripes that were woven into the border were in bright colors, which sort of formed a nice foil for the very melange shaded fabric that came about because of the undyed weft. When it comes to, I don't know how many of you saw the collection that I showcased yesterday in the fashion show. That collection was, another way for me to support a craft from the place that I come from, which is Chennai. And so I wanted to work with traditional fabrics from the south. And that collection, I decided to work with a Kanchipuram weaver. And he's a 10th generation weaver, but he had to weave running fabric for me, which he was unwilling to do. He said, no, we only weave saris, we don't do this kind of work. And so it took a lot of persuasion, it took a lot of convincing, and I explained to him the project that I was working on. It was a project where I was one out of 6 designers selected to work on a special piece, and I had to collaborate with an artist. And she came up with all the patterns that you see on that piece there, and I translated them into embroideries. But for the base fabric, the project brief was we were to be inspired by Valentino, and I chose the pink of Valentino because I related it immediately to the Rani pink of our country. And so I wanted to make that connect between the two countries and the cultures. So I wanted the weaver to weave this Rani pink fabric for me in Kanchipuram silk, and that became the challenge. First of all, the color was completely new because it's not a color that's used in the south by the weavers. And secondly, the fabric that I wanted was running meterage, was not saris. So I had to convince him to do this for me, and this was the first challenge that I had. The second challenge that I faced was getting him to, sorry, how do I go back and play that video, Kamlesh? The red, oh, sorry, it's gone back too much now. Oh yeah, there, it's playing, I'm so sorry. Ooh, why is this happening? Anyway. So the second challenge I faced was getting him to share his process with me because I don't live here, and so I'm not here to see the process. And I wanted him to share it with me so that I could share it, when I was exhibiting this at the project. And I could also share it with the audience for them to understand how hand weaving is done, and so therefore to celebrate the craft, basically. And he just was very apprehensive about that. He didn't want to share the videos or photos, and this little video is all that I could get from him to represent the work, the way it was done. So these are some of the challenges that I faced during this. And when he saw the outcome at the exhibition, he was really quite surprised. And I told him, I said, I'm going to be sharing about you and the work that you do as an artist. And that's going to be part of my project presentation. So, when he saw the outcome, he was quite pleasantly surprised. And it took, all the challenges that we had finally turned out to be a wonderful outcome at the end of it. So basically what I wanted to share was an example of how, as creatives, we can work with weavers and dyers and create work that is special and relevant. And I won't say that we are empowering them, but I would say that we are celebrating their work and their craft. And this is the one way that we could do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sonali Raman. Now I invite Dr. Kumaran to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. Maybe the session is on empowerment. I'm not going to talk much on the weaving and weavers because I am not on that area, but I'll be going to talk on the empowerment in the area of natural dyes, particularly the entire value chain. Probably a short presentation I'll try to share what can be done at different levels of empowerment in the entire process of natural dyeing. So this is what we wanted to do, the empowerment at all stages of natural dyeing. This is what over my overall experiences and seeing all the stages, all the stakeholders at different levels, we wanted to empower them at each level so that the entire value chain can be of equally benefited. That's what my dream, and we have been working on that. So the major things or stakeholders are the stages or the resources, raw materials. When you say raw materials, automatically the farmers will come into the production. And then dyes, dye products, how you are making the dyes, how true it is, how the quality it is, and the people who are involved in making the dye and dye products. And third thing is major important thing where the stakeholder is not recognized is dyeing. As weavers, here the dyers are there. There are many conventional dyers. We have been seeing right from the yesterday morning today till today. There are so many presentations where the local communities have been involved in the process of dyeing. And how really are they empowered thing. See, I'll try to conclude with my few things. And then the most important thing is consumers. Here, consumers also to be empowered. The morning, the session before was discussing so much on the consumers, how to attract consumers and all. So this is a major area to think about it. To my knowledge, at present, all the say for example, bamboo shirts or linen shirts or the hand-woven things or natural dyes, everything is at the premium price. And then people who are walking on the expo, after seeing the price, many of them are going out. So all these things we have to think about it. This is a real thing we have to think. I think in Ausat has given something like that. So we need to reinvent what is the real requirement, how to attract. We are all traveling on our own old ethics. We have to think about it. And then the market. Of course, this market and consumers are interrelated stages. We'll talk on that. And then finally the authenticity. The authenticity is lacking here. That means regulatory system is not present here. So because of that, we suffer a lot. We have to right time, we have to think about it. Of course, the government is also started to think about it, looking into it. And the group is very small. The natural fibers and natural dyers team is very, very small for the government to look into it, all of this. But anyhow, it's the right time. We are making all our efforts to make it understand to the system. And coming to the empowering the resources, I mean the basic resource. When you say weaving, the root cause is the fiber. Here the dyers, the raw materials. Till now, many of the well-known brands of natural dyeing, they don't have the traceability of the raw material. Still, it's lacking. Where it is being cultivated, what are the resources given to it? When you're talking on circular economy or sustainability, necessarily we need to know the source of your product. And then we started working on all the major colors. And the small team cannot work. I have a small team to work on that, but we need the research component on this, particularly on the raw material side, has to increase a wide. We need a huge team to work together. Then only there are a number of plants. Everybody can collect and do the dye. But when you go increase the recovery of the dye and then not disturbing the natural ecosystem for collection of these dyes so that the biodiversity is not affected, we need to bring all those materials out of the natural ecosystem and into the farm. Yesterday, somebody is talking, we are going to, probably Mr. Sakti will, we are occupying the food grain production, that's a challenge. No, not at all. We have huge amount of marginal lands, uncultivable lands. All my anatto, I have cultivated, my farmers have cultivated anatto only in the uncultivable lands, marginal lands. These plants are highly suitable for it. Technology can be developed for cultivating these plants in non-cultivable lands also. There are packages. We are not going to fight with food grains and all. And the other scenario is that if you see, I am from a forestry background. Most of the farmers who are doing agriculture, they are coming out of agriculture because they are also not getting the price. You know, the tomato we are getting, they are selling for 3 rupees per kg, but the price is 35 rupees in the market. Sometimes it has gone up to 100 rupees also. I have seen farmers throwing baskets of tomato on the roads because they are giving just 50 paise or 1 rupee per kg. But your tomato sauce in the mall is more than 100 rupees or so. So we are not empowered the cultivators. So here I don't want to do that. At least the cultivators could get the price. And we also saw the Mexican experience. People are going out of the cultivation. So that is not the case. We have to empower them. And then how we can empower them? Cultivation is a proper package. Instead of getting 5 kgs, we can get 50 kgs. That's technology is there. So annatto, I have increased the yield of annatto per acre 200 kgs. We are now getting 1.2 tons with high bixin content. The farmers can easily get 40,000 rupees per acre, which is we cannot imagine at all. But we need a large work. And Government of India has already intervened. After seeing my experiences, the Government, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, took annatto across the country as a part of the cultivation package through the government system. So that type of approach we have to encourage. We need to bring it back. Odisha government has approached me. Many state governments are inviting me to promote annatto cultivation because the demand of annatto is 15 to 18,000 metric tons per year. The global demand. But production is only 3,000 tons. So there are scopes to improve that. And then I told you, when you say the precision cultivation, right from the quality of the seeds, right from the production of seedlings, quality planting stock, and right package of cultivation if you give, there is possibility that farmers can get a good price. And then also try to, as we said, there are other scopes. In natural ecosystem, we have a lot of waste going as a waste. Litter is going as a waste. Bark is going as a waste. Lot of debris on the forest. Those can be collected by the tribal communities. That can be converted into dyes. So these are all the few examples where we can empower the collectors and the cultivators in the natural dye process. And then coming to dyes, I'm not having my rich experience on production of dyes, but we started doing some products from the dyes, particularly fine-tuning the dye extraction process, so that the recovery can be increased, the dye content can be increased. So we need to revisit it. There are many number of technologies for it, and right technology for the right dye. We cannot use the same technology for annatto as well as for indigo, or annatto and this rubia. So we need to refine the process, and then we have a lot of experienced people here, and then they can work on. But try to be transparent, true to your own transparency, so that the product is very true without many adulteration, so that we can get a good quality dye which can be used for the fabrics. So and then not only that, we try to make another major thing, particularly in the textile part, is that most of the dyeing is being done immediately after preparation of the dye extracts. So try to make some different forms of dyes, so that with the increased shelf life. By altering your pH and altering with your all these things, I think probably we can increase the shelf life. We are working on that. So we need to develop various forms of dyes which can be marketed with shelf life. For the local people, say you have a small cluster of dyers in your own area, there you can make aqueous extracts immediately and directly supply them. Instead of the dyer himself making a dye extract, and then see 20 or 30 people together and they are making dyeing and supply to a producer. Instead that, try to make the dye in a single place, supply to the dyers, 20 or 30 dyers, so that the color will be uniform and the people also get a thing. So such a type of revised revisit or reapproach will be helping to empower the dyers. And then dyeing process. I think probably whatever knowledge I have given here, but I need the input from the real dyeing people, because this is one of the major area which decides the quality of the total fabric at all. So we need some R&D, even the experienced people can share, so that the input has to come. What I feel is that the skill development is lacking in dyeing. We have only limited resources to develop. See, when we are telling one side the artisans in weaving, everything, yarn, everything, there are people there, they are not getting the recognition or the real livelihood they are getting. In the other side, dyeing, when you come to dyeing, we lack people. When there is a demand, we are not having hands to do that. And everybody is coming as just like fun, they are earning and going. But real skill development has to come. That's what one of the very important thing we have to do. And then printing technology, we have been talking based on different things. We'll do that also. And coming to the consumers, this is the very, very important. We try to categorize the total consumers packages, and try to address each category based on their demands. And then try to go, there are many terms already there, but it's not working. Technical textiles, specialized textiles, there are so many things, but it's not happening, except baby garments are like that. So necessarily we have to target the specific customers with specific products. We cannot generalize the things also. And then we also try to address the local markets, small scale local markets are there. That is very, very important. By mouth, by things we can share. When I am buying the small apartment, we can share the things. We put a small expo, people will buy. They will go, spread through their own recommendations. And then markets, of course, lot of, now I need not tell you, there's a lot of scope to improve market when you have right product, right channel, right groups and all. We have a thing, people are, a lot of youngsters are coming into it. We have to encourage them. And then automatically the markets will be, once your product is valid and everything, probably things will be going so far. And then finally the authenticity, this is very, very important. Unless otherwise certification standards and certification process is finalized,